Was that the bottom for Bitcoin and Solana? Was that the swing failure pattern that we've been waiting for to scare out retail traders so we can really start coming to new all-time highs? As always, this is another update on Bitcoin and Solana. We're going to discuss everything with the charts, the news, updates on our favorite meme coins and everything else. Let's dive right in. So starting off with the news, Bitcoin's now back above 61,000 and Solana is pushing back above $142. 97% of Solana mainnet validators have been upgraded to V17.31, which is massively improving with any congestion issues. Now there was a really interesting paper published yesterday by Franklin Digital Assets. The main takeaways are that they believe Solana will continue to grow due to its strengthening network effects and improving performance, positioning it well to lead in emerging crypto trends with its low fees, fast transactions, and high data throughput, stating this is where Solana really shines. They also mentioned Solana's uniquely qualified for several factors which are most likely to bring the next wave of crypto adoption, the number one being DePIN, decentralized physical infrastructure networks. This is really important, and I think this is going to be really big this cycle. That's all for Solana today. Let's now move into the Bitcoin, crypto, and macro news. $4.8 trillion asset manager Fidelity states that pension funds are now exploring Bitcoin and crypto as an investment option. The other day, Fed Chairman Powell came to the stage and stated the Federal Reserve won't be lowering the interest rates until they're more confident inflation will reach 2%. Basically the same story we've been hearing for months and months and months now. Let's now update the Bitcoin ETF flows. Remember, I post all of the major flow data over on my Twitter at 618_cowboy, so be sure to give me a follow. There is literally nothing to update from the Hong Kong flows. They are completely minuscule compared to the amount that US ETFs are dumping every day. Now, the other day on the 1st of May, which marked the local bottom, this was one of the worst daily outflows in ETF history, with GBTC dumping $167 million, FBTC dumping $191 million, and every single other ETF dumping small amounts in the millions of dollars. We're still waiting for the flow data for the 2nd of May, and in my opinion, this flash crash caused by ETF selling is going to mark the bottom. Now just quickly, in Bitcoin settled futures, you can see that we are back into relatively neutral territory for the funding fees. Almost every single time we dip into negative funding fee rates, that does mark the local bottom. So that is something that you just want to keep your eyes on. And with these low funding rates for long positions, it's also important to pair this data with the Bitcoin exchange liquidation map. If we're looking at the liquidation map on the past 30 days, you can see there is tons of short liquidity all the way up at higher price targets. For example, if Bitcoin comes to 69,000, which is not too far away from where we are right now, it can snatch 8.15 billion worth of liquidity, forcing 8 billion worth of short positions to buy back their coins. And at which point we may see a massive short covering. It only takes Bitcoin to move up to about 64,000 to reclaim about $1.6 billion worth of liquidity. These buybacks are then going to contribute to more buying pressure and push this up to the next level. 66,000 will see approximately 5 billion worth of liquidity taken back into the market. And if we're looking at the cumulative long liquidation, you can see really there's not a lot of liquidity at lower levels. Like I've been saying on the channel, we've primarily snatched all of that liquidity. This was what this was, a liquidity grab. There is no more liquidity to the downside. There's only liquidity up at higher levels. So let's now segment this off into the charts, and I want to start off with Solana. Before we do dive into the charts, if you're enjoying the video so far, make sure to smash the like button, leave a comment. It really helps out with the algorithm a lot more than you can imagine. So let's now talk about what's happening for Solana. Now, in our previous video, and also what I posted over on Twitter, was this fractal over here. And I stated that Solana loves making retail traders think we absolutely need to hold this level, otherwise it's over. And then it does something that I like to call a fuck you reversal. What a fuck you reversal is basically we have a very nice high. We have a very nice high. We have a very nice high. And what happens is we come down for a correction. Maybe it's 50% or something. A lot of people panic and they say, okay, you know, we're sitting at this floor. We really need to hold this floor. If we lose this floor, it's over. And then we lose the floor. We grab a little bit of liquidity and then boom, we have a fuck you reversal. Over here, you can see $87. Everyone was saying, you know, we need to hold this level. We need to hold this level. Literally for a day, you know, 12 hours, 24 hours, we dip beneath this level. Everyone's saying it's over, you know, the next level of support isn't until all the way down here, but no, Solana has a fuck you reversal. It takes liquidity just beneath the bottom of the trend, and then it decides that it wants to push up higher. And this was exactly what I was calling for in my previous video. And you can see if we move in, it's a tiny bit hard to see, but this was the level that we really needed to hold according to retail traders, $119.79. And you can see we just dipped beneath this level. And then a lot of people entered shorts, and I believe it was $10 million worth of shorts were liquidated like that when Solana just decided to have this fuck you reversal. So in my opinion, the bottom is in for both Bitcoin and Solana, and I think it's primarily up only from here. Now, before we talk about a few other charts for Solana, I just want to quickly reinstate my favorite meme coins. The top 2 meme coins that I mentioned in my top 16 Solana picks to 100x is both CHONKY and VCAT. We've of course got OR, which I'm still a big fan of, and my Solana stake, which I'm still a big fan of, but these are my 2 top favorite meme coins. Now, while there's not much development for CHONKY, I believe we're pretty much at the exact same level. I am still extremely bullish on CHONKY. The development's happening over on their Twitter. If you just want to go check that out, see what CHONKY's doing, it's really looking good over here. They're definitely building a nice brand. But with VCAT, we've been absolutely exploding. The last time I told you to buy VCAT was in this video on the top 16 Solana picks when we were at $2.10. And you can see today we rocketed all the way up to almost $5 at $4.90. So well over a 2x if you did watch that video and you took my advice on adding VCAT to your portfolio. VCAT is now the #1 position in my portfolio. I previously stated that CHONKY, VCAT and OR, they're all pretty much split about 1/3 of the top of my portfolio. So these 3 coins, OR, CHONKY, VCAT, they each had the same amount of US dollars in when I was making this video. Now VCAT is my #1 position by an absolute milestone after this pretty much 2x rally that we saw. On the 4-hour time frame, it's probably a little bit nicer on the daily time frame. You can see we are definitely forming something that looks like a W formation. If we do break the neckline, a very important level of resistance to get above is $5.20. This will have a breakout target up to $9.27. And if you're just looking at this chart, just imagine what happens once we start making higher lows and higher highs, because we really need to get above $5.20. If we do, I think we are going to be exploding into new all-time highs, and I believe you've definitely still got at least a 10x potential in this coin. But let's now move on to Solana. On the weekly time frame, you can see something very similar to the fuck you reversal we talked about before. As you can see, these were the levels that we were talking about being support, $144 and $126. And you can see temporarily we dipped beneath this box and we are pushing back up to the upper echelon of this box. And you can see we held on the weekly time frame the 0.5 Fibonacci with a 50% retracement from the bull run high down to the bear market low. If we're coming over to the weekly time frame, I want to point out all of these massive higher lows that Solana has been forming on the weekly time frame. And you can see these all coincide with bottoms very close to 0 over on the stochastic RSI on the weekly time frame. And this is exactly what we're seeing right now for Solana. This is one of the major reasons why I believe for Solana, it's pretty much up only from here. You can also see we did have a significant correction, almost 50% from the high down to the low, and this almost completely reset the RSI from around about 87 to 90 all the way down to 56. We saw a similar move in the previous cycle for this. If I quickly remove all the drawings on my chart, you can see when we were in the bull run, we had that major correction before Solana plastered up for months at a time, making new all-time highs. And I think this is kind of where we are right now. I think we're somewhere round about here. You can see initially when the RSI dropped, this was where we found the bottom. We double dipped on the RSI to a lower low, but this was the actual bottom on the RSI, round about 54, and we came down to 56 this time. So once again, just another reason why I believe the Solana low is in. But just quickly, before I give you my price targets, let's once again look at where we are overlaying Ethereum's previous bull run fractal over the Solana price right now. Now, round about the previous cycle, coming into when the halving was, Ethereum also had a correction which perfectly coincides with the correction we just saw in Solana. And once that correction was done in this part of the cycle, it was pretty much up only from there. Ethereum exploded into a new all-time high. It then corrected down and flipped. As you can see, this was in blue, Ethereum's previous all-time high. It came back down, back tested it as support, and then it made the bull run top. So I believe Solana is getting ready to move probably close to, $350, $400 or so. It might then come back down to around about $250 or so, maybe have a fuck you pattern. A lot of people will say, you know, we need to hold 260, the previous all-time high. It will probably come down to 240, 230, make a higher low, and then boom, we'll be off to the races to my price targets, where I believe Solana could hit between $870 and $1,300 this cycle. But in the immediate short term, what are the price targets I'm looking at? On the daily time frame, you can see we are getting into a area of resistance. There's a downtrending line of resistance coming in. There is a daily EMA ribbon, all kind of posing a threat around about the $150 region. It is also very important that we do get back above the 50 TMA strategy around about $166, which perfectly coincides with the 786 Fibonacci. So in the immediate short term, $150. That is where I believe Solana is going to move up to, but there is a very steep and multitude of resistances at $150 that you do want to keep your eyes on. I personally do believe Solana is going to have no problem getting above that level. Once we do, the next area to keep your eyes on is going to be 165, and then we're pretty much going to be breaking above the previous trend, $210, new all-time highs coming very, very soon. Now let's dive into the charts for Bitcoin. First of all, let's start off on where we are in the macro time frame on the weekly. As we previously discussed, we are around that halving time, and we have just broken above the previous all-time high. Now we're consolidating around the previous all-time high. At this moment in time, we've been consolidating for 10 weeks. In the previous cycle, we consolidated around the all-time high for 6 weeks. In the prior cycle to that, we consolidated for 10 weeks. So I think we're a little bit more akin to the cycle that happened back in 2017. And you can see, you know, a lot of people are saying it's doomsday here, from 1,300 down to 880. It was the end of the world. We made a higher low, and then pretty much instantly, once we got back above that all-time high again, it was up only. So that's kind of where I think we are in the cycle. I think we're getting ready to move back above, do something like this, and then probably just start climbing. We'll have some resistance at 100k before pushing up further. On the weekly time frame as well, we are bouncing very strongly from the 786 Fibonacci at 57,500, a price target which I've been letting you know in my past couple of videos. For the past couple of weeks, I've been saying this is one of my predictions. I think we're coming down to the 786, and I think worst case scenario 786 does hold, and we're bouncing very strongly from it. Now Bitcoin has also had a reversal pattern. Remember on the channel we've been saying this is the worst case scenario, this could potentially happen, this would be an SFP. I literally haven't touched this since maybe about the 20th of April, something like this. I haven't touched this chart at all, other than just adding this arrow here. This drawing is the complete same. We talked about this potentially being a swing failure pattern, grabbing that liquidity. As we discussed earlier, there is now no more liquidity down at these levels. There's a very, very tiny amount compared to the magnitude of liquidity up at these levels here. So no surprise to see this was a swing failure pattern on the falling wedge as well. We cleared that previous resistance level around about 60,000 or so, and we are pushing up very strongly. In my opinion, the next price target to keep your eyes on for Bitcoin is going to be the top of this falling wedge at 63,800. If we do manage to break bullish from it, you do also want to bear in mind the next price target and another area of resistance would be the top of the bull flag formation at $70,000. One more reason beside all of the reasons why in this video I think Bitcoin and Solana are pretty much getting ready for that up only stage is the fact that the Bitcoin RSI has completely reset, and you can see this fractal I've outlined. Every single time we break the downtrend on the RSI in that correction phase, it is pretty much up only, at least for a few weeks or so. And I believe this is the type of scenario we're about to see. I believe the daily RSI downtrend is soon to be broken. And with that, I think this falling wedge is going to get broken to the upside. I believe we're going to come up to 70,000. And once we get back above that level, there's one key area that I've got my eyes on, a super solid resistance point, which Bitcoin needs to get back above. That is going to be around about 75,000. This resistance is very, very important in my opinion. Please also note we have not even yet seen retail FOMO in this cycle kick in. As you can see, if we're looking at the on-chain, if we're looking at the Bitcoin unique addresses that appeared for the first time on the network as a transaction, you can see at these tops here, this is where retail FOMO really kicks in. So if we're putting Bitcoin in a new pane, you can see getting rid of the RSI. When this metric spikes, this means there's a lot of new retail traders buying for the first time or sending and receiving from the first time. And this almost always marks the top. However, right now you can see, we are at this low. We're at this low. We're at this low. This was the correction in my opinion. I think Retail is not yet FOMO'd in. Once they do, we're going to see the price move much, much higher. Anyway, that's all for the TA in the news today. Remember the actionables as always. Make sure you are mining grass. Make sure you get the Solana Chapter 2 mobile. My referrals will be down in the description for that today. If you enjoyed, smash like on the way out. See you in the next one. Peace.